Hello, Soundies. Welcome to our sound for video session. It's good to have you here today. We're wearing our holiday headphones here just to bring in a little cheer. Thanks to Beyerdynamic. We actually have the Beyerdynamic DT770 Pros. These are the first set of kind of pro-level headphone mixing or pro-level headphones that I bought 12 years ago or something, maybe even longer ago than that. They sent me a new version in full disclosure with the holiday ear cups for cheer, holiday cheer. All right, it's great to have you all here. Thanks for joining us here. We have, wow, I do have some Dutch ancestry, but I don't speak Dutch, so I'm afraid I don't know how to pronounce your name. Steen, I would guess, but I'm not positive. Thanks for joining us. Good to have you here. Amado, it's great to have you here. Bubblebee Europe this week, very helpful in getting my package to me in North Carolina, where it's a sunny 68. NC, I assume that's North Carolina. Anyway, Champ is here. While Curtis and Danny were out partying last night, I actually had to work. Hello from Music City. Good to have you here, Matt. All right, here we go. Danny's joining us from East Texas, ready for Bubblebee info. You got it. Let's take a look and see what we've got here today. So we'll cut on over to I'm operating solo. Danny is in a music group. She's been practicing the last several weeks with her group. That's why I'm running these solo for right now. So she's having fun playing the fiddle, and we're having fun over here experimenting with sound. So a few things. Was it last week that we looked at the other Bubblebee products for their shotgun microphones and pencil condenser microphones, so the bigger microphones, wind protection. This week we're looking at the lavalier accessories, so accessories made for hiding lavaliers and for protecting them from wind as well, and a few other things kind of mixed in there too. So we'll take a look at those. We did have one question that was submitted ahead of time, and we will take a look at that as well. And then we'll go back to the chat and see what's happening out in the sound for video world. So with that, let's go to our overhead camera. All right, first up, overhead camera, lots of stuff. It's kind of all over the place. We're obviously not gonna have time to look at every single one of these, but kind of some highlights I wanted to call out. These are the lav concealers, and they're made for specific microphones. So this one you can see is for the Shure TL45, 46, and 47. This one is for the DPA 4060. This one is for the Sanken COS 11, so we'll actually test that one out. And they also have one that's specific made. In this case, it doesn't really show on the label here, but this is for the Rode Lavalier 2. So we'll take a look at that as well. Here's a Countryman B6 concealer. You can see that one's substantially smaller. So here's the one for the Shure. And here's the one for the Countryman, keeping it nice and small. Again, the Countryman is I guess you'd call it a sub-miniature lavalier microphone, definitely smaller than many of the others out there. So we can take a look at those. We've got some foam of different sizes that you can put on the microphone for when it's not necessarily hidden, when it's actually on the outer portion of the clothes. So those are just nice to have as spares if you're putting the microphones out like that. This is their invisible skin tape. So the idea is you can attach this to the skin on one side, and it's double-sided tape. So I believe we'll take a look at that as well. All right, a couple packets of that, and then we have what they call their cable saver, and this adds some sort of elasticity to the cable, so if it gets yanked, it hopefully won't damage your microphone, and it will also potentially reduce a little bit of the mechanical noise transfer from the microphone cable getting up into the microphone itself. Let's see here. We have an outdoor mic kit for the Rode Lavalier. So this one I showed you before. The difference here is this one's for hiding microphones. This one's for outdoor use. So I think it's going to have more things like fur covers and stuff like that. Whereas this one is definitely made for hiding under clothing. We have some fur. Fur can be really useful if you are getting a lot of scratching and rustling against clothing. This can help smooth that out some. So that's what the piece of fur can be used for. We have a variety of different fur covers for different microphones. So let's see here. We have a kind of bigger foam for high wind, fur, the smaller fur for less wind. And they have different sizes here. So they don't necessarily make them for specific mics, but different sizes for different mics. So the extra small, I assume, is going to be for something more like the Countryman B6 or the Deity. What is their lavaliers called again? They make a micro version that's very much kind of in line in terms of the size of the B6. So that would be for that, and then the small would be for other larger, round-shaped lavaliers. We've got a spares kit. This has things like covers, like metal covers, or maybe these are plastic, I'm not sure, for lavalier microphones. It looks like there's some the kind of silicone ear cones. Oh, these are for ear cones mostly, it looks like. Yeah, this is for the Sidekick. Okay, so the Sidekick, which we don't have here today, this is actually we're not going to talk about this today. Sidekick is an ear monitoring system, and this looks like some spare parts for that kit. That's another topic altogether. And then we have kind of generic mic hiding kits that come in these plastic boxes here. So with that, let's go ahead and wire something up here. For simplicity today, we're using the Rode Wireless Pro system here. I can connect a Countryman, not a Countryman, but my COS 11D to that, and I can also attach the Rode Wireless lavalier, the Lavalier Pro 2, I guess is technically what it's called. So there's the Rode lavalier, and let's go ahead and get started with this. Okay, here we have Danny. I'm contemplating building a cart. No way to cope with this level of finesse without serious organization. Yeah, I agree. Once you get to a certain level, it definitely makes sense to have a cart. And there are often two carts. A lot of times there's a cart for the mixer itself and all of the things that are built around it, and then a separate cart where you do all your prep work, at least on the bigger productions. I don't have the second cart yet. I just have the sound cart. All right, so here we've got the Rode Lavalier 2. Let's get our kit here. This one is made bespoke for the Rode Lavalier. And we'll just pop that open. It looks like we have some of the tape over here. We have tape that's cut specifically for this, and it actually tells you what they've got here. So we've got a little card here. So we've got the lav concealer, that's over here. This is a rubber kind of material here. And you'll note it has a metal piece here. And the idea with this is that this is the top, so this is a front-facing or forward-firing orientation mic. Let me pull this off the back here. So we can slide this right in here. There we go. Just line the hole up with the grill on the microphone. There we go. Cool. Now, this one I'm less clear on what this clip at the bottom is for, but the clip on the metal on the top here holds whatever clothing there may be. And let me kind of get something behind it so you can see that a little better. Here's the side view right here. So the clothing will rub against this as opposed to right against the concealer itself, is the idea. Let's see here. Different tape, it looks like. And then there's also there's a moleskin. So if I needed to, I could put that on here. If I am still getting some rustling. And I've got the tape that has a hole in the middle, so I won't actually impede the sound from making it through to the microphone. And then this is for the back, I would assume, the back of the concealer. You notice it has holes on it as well. That is so that if you are working with a wardrobe department, or if you wanted to do it yourself, you could sew it into the clothing. So that's pretty cool. And then, of course, there's also this fur as well. And I think the fur, if I'm not mistaken, the way you might use the fur is you might put the fur, if I'm going to put this in a button placket, for example, what I could do is put this on the back of the button placket and then this on the other side, again, to provide some kind of a softer moving sound across the microphone capsule as opposed to the scraping against the clothing itself. So that's my thinking on how that works. So let's go ahead and do this up and see what we get here. I'm going to go ahead and put this in. There are little holes here. I know this is a little bit difficult to see, but this looks like it's essentially a clip. So I could use that as just sort of like a, on wireless transmitter packs, it's like a little clip that you would use on a belt. This is just a miniature version of that. So let's see if I wire this up. Let's go ahead and switch back on over to the front camera here. And I've got a shirt here with a button placket. And let's go ahead and place it in here. So in our case, we're going to come up from underneath because we have prepared in advance. We're not tucked in, but you could use a lav, mic drop or whatever to get it in there as well if you chose to. And what I'm going to do, again, a little bit tricky to see. Move my mic out of the way a little bit. Okay, what I can do is I can clip this. It's a little bit more tricky to put it on yourself than it is to put it on somebody else. But we're just working it on there gently. There we go. Okay, now I have it right there. Now I should be able to button this up. Incidentally, this shirt right here is a cotton polyester blend. So there, it's hidden right underneath here. Okay. And let's just see how that sounds. Let's plug that into our Rode Wireless Pro. And we will transmit that. I've got that on another channel here on my mixer. We're using the Mackie DLZ today. Okay, this is what I sound like on this microphone. Let's switch over. Okay, and here I am on the Rode Lavalier Pro. If I get this headphone cable off of there, this is what the Rode Lavalier Pro sounds like. Now do a walk and talk, Linda says. I don't have very far to walk in here, but I can move. There's definitely some clothing noise, but you would expect that. Let's go ahead and see what happens if I take that the little metal pin off. Let me switch back over, just so you don't have to hear that kind of pop out. Okay. So I just took that little metal loop out. Okay, there we are. Now we're back on the Rode Lavalier Pro. Does this count for a walk and talk, Linda? It's a little bit nutty there. There we go. It's not the worst I've experienced. It's actually pretty good on its own. Let's go ahead and put that back in. I'll again, switch over to the other mic so you don't have to hear all the crackle, 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 crackle. Here we are on this mic. Okay, a little bit awkward to hear myself talk here. Taking that off. Let's go ahead and put this little metal loop back in. Okay, this should hold the clothing away a little bit. And let's see what happens if I take the, maybe, let's start with the, they call this moleskin. Yeah, it's very light moleskin. And I'll use some of the tape here, which is two-sided tape. And just tape the moleskin on there like that. And I'm going to put this on the opposite side of the button placket so that when I move, hopefully we'll get less of that rustle. Okay, let's switch back over to the Rode Lavalier. Here we go. This is what it sounds like while I'm walking and talking. This is the calisthenics workout with Curtis, LOL. Thank you, Matt. Linda, I hear the clothing noise. I'm with you. It's not the worst I've heard, but Da Vinci Girl says, sounds ugly to my ears. Doesn't sound all that pro to me. Well, that's the microphone, so... lots of treble on this mic capsule. Rory on a Bike says, I use Bubblebee, but at NAB, DPA released its Air 1 miniature fur windscreen, and I like it a lot. It comes in large and small in 6 colors. There are 2 YouTube videos that show how it works. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so let's just for comparison, let's get the Rode Lavalier 2 out of this concealer and just tape it in the button placket so you can hear what that sounds like. Okay, so we'll switch back. Okay, we're back on this microphone over here. Let's go ahead and pull these out. Okay. All right. And rather than undo everything, what I'm going to do is just take this out of the concealer. Having a hard time getting that. There we go. Okay. Pull the mic out. Okay, just the mic itself. And let's just tape it straight up. Just to see how that compares. Okay. There we go. Microphone's in place. This is nothing but tape in the microphone. Let's switch over to that, see how that sounds. Okay, here's the Rode Lavalier. About the same. In this case, it really depends, I think, on the fabric you're using. This maybe might even be a little less. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I want to say something, a couple things. Number one, Bubblebee sent all this to me. I didn't pay for any of it. They just asked me to demonstrate it, so that's what we're doing. Secondly, I don't use lavaliers a lot anymore. I've been out of practice in terms of really concealing microphones in wardrobe, so I haven't done a whole lot of that in the last 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, roughly. So I'm not exactly Mr. Expert, but this is to show you what what an inexperienced person can do with this kit. Just so you have the right expectations, everybody. So this is what the Rode Lavalier 2 sounds like, taped underneath the shirt. Let me hear that right there. Just here. Yep, okay. Okay, John says, how about doing a strain relief knot? Let's do that. Strain relief knot, can do. Okay, coming back in here. We're going to need to pull this out. Okay, we'll put that right here. There we go. Threading that back through. Okay. Button that back up. Connect to the transmitter. There we go. Okay, we are attached, switching over to the Rode Lavalier 2. Here we go. Okay, we're on the Rode Lavalier 2. One moment. Do your exercises, people. Some arm circles. There we go. This is not too bad, not too bad. There's definitely some clothing noise there, sir. Okay, switching back. All right. So that is the concealer for the Rode Wireless... No, Rode Lavalier 2, excuse me. Trying to keep all my product names straight here. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong with the concealer, but we got better results actually just taping it underneath the clothing. So there's one little data point for us. There could be something that the Bubblebee folks can tell us here in the comments maybe at some point about maybe what I'm doing wrong, if there's something else I could use in terms of technique. The strain relief knot seemed to make a tiny, tiny bit of difference. And that's what I heard. Let's see, let's go to the chat and see what you're all hearing. So find air with the mic. So this should be, maybe because it's a forward firing, as they say, forward firing. It's not firing anything, but forward facing capsule. That's a little bit different. It does have a good bit of air in terms of the fact that it's, you know, it is open somewhat at the side here. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Mark. Typically what I've done, depending on the wardrobe, I actually often like to be on the inside of lapels if there's something like this. But you know, you gotta work with the wardrobe. It's just it's a lot of experimenting. It's not my favorite. It's I gotta admit, it's not my favorite thing to do. But when you do the job, you got to do the job, and you got to just lean into it and figure out the way to make it works. Matt says, I have almost never concealed lavs. I did some work for the school plays. I never covered a mic because it already a lav. I don't need more work, but then again, not a professional theater. Even in the Broadway shows, those mics aren't concealed many times, and they're often hiding them up here in the hair. Sometimes they're using the ear hung microphones that have the booms off to the side. I think there's less. Because the audience generally isn't that close, it's not like a movie or a streaming show or anything like that, that it's like they've set an expectation that it's okay to see the lavalier microphone for Broadway shows. So there we go. All right, I want to know how the concealer works with the MKE2. I wish I had one on hand, but I don't, Linda. Let's see if we can maybe hook up let's do the Sanken COS 11 and see how that sounds, just out of curiosity, because we do have some of those. All right. First, we're going to take this mic out and make sure we get that tape, or my washing machine's not going to like that. Okay, there is the Rode Lavalier 2. Let's come on over and clean things up just a touch. Throw that tape over here. All right, let's go back to the overhead camera here. And here we go. Just throw all this back in here. Here are our tapes. Actually, this as well. And then where did I put the concealer itself? Not sure, but we'll come back. We'll figure that out later. So, oh, it's in there. Okay, we're good. All right. So that's the Rode Lavalier 2. Let's get our Sanken COS 11. This is my microphone boom arm. That is now out of the shot. All right, Sanken COS 11, much beefier, but they actually come with their own, if you buy it in the kit, they come with their own little thing, which is also a rubber thing. They call it the RM11, and it just has a slot here that you can slide the microphone into. I've never had great luck with this in terms of eliminating clothing rustle, but this is a similar type thing. So let's try the Bubblebee version. I'd really love to have a very practical, I think I'd like to go take Brittany's course to figure out how to do this better, because I definitely don't feel like this is a skill that I have mastered. Okay, Sanken COS 11 Lav concealers. We need scissors to open that. Looks like it comes with some tape as well. Scissors in your Lav concealing kit, critical piece of gear. I'll use the white one since my shirt is white. Again, very much similar to the one for the Rode Lavalier, rubber sort of thing. This came in two colors, black and white. And let's go ahead and get the microphone in there for a start. Might need to pull this bottom metal off. Okay, we're going for air here. Want this sticking through. Looks like it needs to go just a little farther. There we go. Okay, so you can see the microphone grill just kind of poking through there. Let's go ahead and put this back on the bottom here, this little clip. There we go. On one side, I know it's hard to see. I'll show you as soon as I get it in there. There we go. Okay, so here it is. Here's the bottom. The little clip to clip it to your clothing. The metal that is, in theory, supposed to hold it away from the clothing. Right here. Maybe pull that up a little bit. There we go. You can see it a little better now. There it is. All right, so let's go ahead and put a strain relief knot in there. Okay, So microphone, strain relief knot, we've got our connector here. Let's go ahead and cut back over to this camera and we'll get that set up here. Bring that up underneath the shirt. The tape definitely left some residue, just to be aware of that. Okay. Clip this on. Okay, then we'll attach that to the transmitter pack. Coming into the Rode Wireless Pro. And we have a locking nut as well. That actually works better than Rode's locking nut, to be honest. Okay, now let's go ahead and hear what we've got. This is with the Sanken COS 11 Lav Concealer from Bubblebee. Switching over now. Okay, here I am on the Sanken COS 11D. And let me just move around a little. Let me get this cable away from my body a little bit. There we go. This one's doing better. There is still some rustle. Do your star jumps, jumping jacks, whatever you call them. So this one actually is substantially better to my ear. Did we get lucky? Maybe. Maybe it's about the same. All right, Linda says, so much better. That may be speaking more of the microphone than it is speaking of anything else, but maybe not. I don't know, the concealer's working well here. Sanken, less clothing noise, more bass notes. I'm not singing, Eric. Definitely more bass though, definitely. Okay, all right, there we go. That's pretty good, pretty good. Still getting some. So it's not perfect, but that's actually pretty good. We're gonna try one other thing. Let's add the moleskin to the opposite side of the concealer. So that, I'm gonna switch back to this mic so you don't have to hear me moving around here, okay? Okay, so now, as we move, we should have that moleskin moving against the concealer as opposed to the clothing. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, we're back on the Sanken COS 11. I don't know if that's any better. Still some clothing rustle, but not bad. God, let's go walk. John Roddy, less noise. Matt Ruff, Sanken COS 11D is a good mic, so it's a better setup. There we go. Okay, switch it back. All right, here we are back on our main microphone now. All right, let's test some other things while we're here. So that's a Lav concealer. That is pretty cool. I think that's working pretty well on the Sanken at least. So that's good. That actually, I'll use that next time. That works better than the experiences I've had with the one that came with the Sanken microphone, the COS 11. So thank you, Bubblebee. Good job on that one. All right, now, oh yeah, pull this off before I forget again so that my clothing washer isn't angry at me. Or me angry at my clothing washer. Because it has been all gummed up with tape. Let's go ahead and try some of these wind protection things as well while we're here. So let's go with the, I don't know if the small will work with the Senken. Let's try it, but we've got the Bubblebee Wind Bubble Pro in the overhead here. You can see this. So this is basically a fur cover. I guess you open it by tearing here. Okay. And okay, this is a bigger one. I don't know, smaller one. This one's gray in color. It's a little different than what they show on here. It looks more brown on the cover, but gray. And that fits like that, okay. So let's first of all check for transparency. So what I'm gonna do, let's come back over here. I'm gonna talk into the microphone just like this. So let me switch over. Okay, and I need to put my headphones on so I can hear too. 1 second. All right, we switched back to the main mic. Putting my headphones on, good. Okay, switching over to the Senken COS 11. Here we are on the Senken COS 11D, and this is with the Wind Bubble Pro on it, size small, and this is what it sounds like. And here it is without the Wind Bubble Pro small on it. This is the Senken COS 11D without the Wind Bubble Pro. And now let's put the Wind Bubble Pro back on. Okay, now the Wind Bubble Pro is back on. Checking 1, 2, check, check, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is the Wind Bubble Pro on the Senken COS 11D. How is it sounding? How does it sound different with and without? Love to hear in the chat. So, okay. Yeah, just give you a little bit of time here. Michael Corleone, thanks for joining us on the live stream. Good to have you here. Audio Buff has enjoyed learning what a button placket is. Never knew. Also a cool accessory kit. Well, thanks, Jude. Good to have you here. Did Bubblebee send you any cable springs? They're zigzaggy rubber band looking things like this, but we'll put it on the overhead so you can actually see it. Yes, they did. So we'll put one of those on as well. Okay, John says very transparent and gives it a thumbs up. I used to think that concealer or moleskin get rid of 100% of the rustles. Do the few percent of the rustles get removed in post rather? Well, depends. If I'm the one that's hiding the loft, they're going to have to do it in post because I have never been amazing at getting in it. If it's fully concealed, I'm almost always getting a little bit. Not 100%. For women, hiding the lavalier kind of attached to their bra underneath, sorry for the mouth click, that seems to work pretty well. I don't get a lot of clothing rustle in most cases. So, Da Vinci Girl confirms no difference. So it's pretty transparent. That's good. Eric, fur cover is not muffling, attenuating the voice at all. Pretty clear. Okay, well, let's see what it does then with a fan. So here's the other part of it. When you are putting something like this on, obviously the idea is you want to prevent a wind from distorting the sound by hitting the microphone capsule. Let's turn our fan on down here. Same as last week. Can hear that. I would estimate 25 miles per hour, maybe. I don't know, honestly. Let's go ahead and put the mic down straight at the fan. Not hearing distortion, just hearing noise. Let's pull the cover off and then see what happens. I'm gonna be on the fader. I don't want it to distort and crackle too loudly into your ears. And that's what it sounds like when it distorts. So the Sanken actually does, I'm going to turn that fan off for now, does pretty well. It's not the worst I've heard in wind, but the Wind Bubble Pro works very nicely. So good job on that, Bubblebee. All right, next, let's look at the Wind Bubble Pro Extreme. This is a little bit bigger. Let me switch back to my other mic. Okay, back on this microphone. And get untangled here. Let's go back to the overhead. We're going to look at the big one here. So this is the Wind Bubble Pro Extreme. And we'll just pop that open here. Oh no, I didn't tear it right. Okay, here we go. This one's white, so this would be if you're hiding it on a white, maybe a wedding gown, or perhaps on a white shirt. And this one's a little bit bigger, as you can see, and creates a bit more of a bubble. There's a structure inside of it that gives it this shape. So obviously there's fur on the outside, but there's also sort of a bubble that fits around the microphone capsule inside of it. So let's go ahead and listen to that one. We'll switch back up here, and let's switch over to this mic. Here we go. Okay, this is the Sanken COS 11D and the Wind Bubble Pro Extreme. This is what it sounds like with the Pro Extreme cover on. And this is what it sounds like without the Wind Bubble Pro Extreme on. So that's, this is an opportunity to hear if there's, how transparent the Wind Bubble Pro is. Let's go ahead and put it back on. Okay, here's with the Wind Bubble Pro back on. And there we go. And let's go ahead and pull that off again just so you can hear. Contrast is usually really helpful to hear things if you're not, it's harder when you don't have the contrast right next to each other. So here we go, pull it off. And here it is, Sanken COS 11D without the Wind Bubble Pro Extreme on the microphone so you can hear what that sounds like. All right, let me know what you heard there. It sounded like it did affect the sound a little bit, not bad, especially if you're out in extreme wind. And while we're here, let's go ahead and put it in some extreme wind. Okay, cover's back on. Let's go ahead and turn the fan on. There's our fan, okay. Putting the microphone right next to the fan. And without the cover, here's without the cover. With the cover. Nice, it definitely takes care of the... If the mic moves, you're going to get a little noise, a little crackly. But the wind does not distort the capsule when you have this on. Okay, that's the Wind Bubble Pro Extreme. All right, back to the main mic here. All right, somebody asked, hey, what about the cable saver? Let's take a listen to that. We'll go ahead and put that on the cable here with our Sanken COS 11. And I'll switch over to the overhead cam so you can see that. All right. So what's the idea with this cable saver? Let me turn the fan off too, by the way. There we go. Okay, idea with the cable saver is two things. Number one, to prevent, when the strain is applied to your cable, to prevent it from breaking. So it's, supposed to provide a little bit of that, but also to, should also help reduce any sort of movement noise. So we just pull it through like that. And then the idea is you wrap it around 2 or 3 times, they say. put the microphone through the other hole. Okay, so now the idea is that it can flex a little bit, and I think we need to redo that. The thing with the Sanken COS 11D is that its cable is really substantial. In fact, that's one of the reasons that it's so popular. One of the reasons, honestly, I have mine is if I have found that lavalier microphones just get so abused on set, not necessarily intentionally, but they have a hard time. They're very small devices. They're kind of delicate. And yeah, this cable's maybe a little bit much for this thing. I'm not sure. Gives it a little bit of spring there. So that's the idea with the cable saver. Let's see if that makes any difference. So the idea is also that instead of a loop like you would typically tie, or you could do both actually. What I would probably do is separate them though. Let's do the loop down a little bit lower. Whoops. There we go. So you might do both like that. Excuse me. So that's the idea with this. I think that's probably going to work a little bit better with, let's try it with the Rode Lavalier, which has a different kind of cable. I believe that Rode puts Kevlar in their cables, if I'm not mistaken, on their Lavalier mics. So we'll see how that does on here. Okay, so that's the Sanken. Let's put the Rode Lavalier. Oh, well, first of all, you're not going to get the Rode. No, not going to work. Wasn't thinking that through. That's not going to fit through that hole, at least not without potentially breaking it. So we're not going to do that. Okay, so that is the cable saver. Should we hear if it makes a difference? Let's go ahead and put it back on, the Sanken. I don't know. I don't like what this is doing to my cable here, to be honest. I'm not sure if it's saving the cable or putting a lot of strain on it. Kind of kinking it, which I don't really love. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go with it like that. Let's get the concealer back over here. Get that set up. Microphone into the concealer. Just pull this out for now. Okay. Mic is in there, good. Put the little metal thing back on, the little loop. Oh, whoops, other way. Oh, this is some serious dexterity required here, friends. It's always harder when you have people watching you do stuff like that. It's like when you're typing and somebody's watching, you always make more mistakes. Okay, that side's in. Let's get the little clip in the other side. Nope. Nope. Pull that back out. Okay, there we go. Looks like we got it. Okay, got the concealer all set. Let's come back to the overhead. No, let's go to the main. We're on the main camera. No, we're on the overhead. Back to the main camera. Here we go. Okay, now I have my loop and I have the cable saver. So let's pull that on. This is the part that's kind of hard to do on yourself. Okay, there we go. You can see it just here. Button it back up here. Okay, there we go. Let's put the headphones on. Let's listen to it. Okay, here we are on the Sanken COS 11D. About the same as before. Didn't magically fix our clothing rustle issues, but this is actually one of the better results I've had on the button placket with a lavalier microphone. So I'm actually quite happy with that, I will say. I will definitely be using this next time I need to lav someone up who's wearing a button-down shirt. So there we go. Okay. Switching back over to the main microphone here. All right, we're at, oh my, what? It's a little later than I expected. We do have a question that was submitted ahead of time, so let's go take a look at that. All right. This is a question from Vinny. Vinny is using two Sony FS5 Mark II cameras, Rode Filmmaker Kit, lavalier. So that's the older generation wireless microphone kit from Rode. The Zoom H6, and they are either streaming or recording on an Epiphan Pearl 2. So that's giving us some background. His question is this. Here is how I have it set up now. So he's struggling with sound. He's not happy with the quality of the sound, feels like he's getting inconsistent sounds from one recording session to another. He's got a lavalier mic on me, into the Rode transmitter, to the Rode receiver, into a Zoom H6 via 3.5 millimeter to, it looks like it's not actually a balance cable. It's a 3.5 millimeter to XLR adapter, I assume there, Vinny. So, whoops. I just ran over, just crushed something there. Then from there, he's taking a 3.5 millimeter to balance cable into the Sony FS5 Mark II. So again, that's just an adapter. It's not technically a balance cable. So it's adapting to XLR. So you're going in the XLR input on the FS5, and then you're sending the output of the FS5 to a Pearl via HDMI. So not doing any sort of post-production syncing. Okay, cool. Sounds like you're recording actually to that Pearl. I was wondering if it's better to go lavalier to Zoom, then to Pearl, and then do audio sync in post, but is that better for the live class I run? Okay, so it sounds like it's live and you also maybe do some post-production? I'm not sure. I'm just looking for the best audio that's consistent and sounds the best. Willing to upgrade to audio limited A10 now that A20 is out, maybe to Zoom Pro 8, maybe Rode Podcaster audio. That would go to Pearl, maybe better lav mic. So Vinny's kind of just looking for an answer on how he can get better sound. Vinny, I hate to break it to you, but maybe I actually am very happy to break it to you. I don't think the gear is the problem. I think you've got a pretty complex setup. I would just take the Rode Filmmaker Kit, the receiver, and take that directly into your FS5. And that's probably it. Then you can solve whatever problems you're experiencing in terms of inconsistency. With an audio signal chain, it's always best if you can keep it as simple as possible. I think traditionally a lot of us thought, and maybe back in the day, 12 years ago, that camera microphone inputs are so awful that we have to use these recorders between our lavalier microphones and the cameras, or any other microphone in the camera. Throw that idea out today, especially with the Sony FS5. I've used that camera before, and it has very good microphone inputs. So I think the Zoom is just getting in your way. I would just get rid of that, or take it out of the signal chain. I would not get rid of it, but just take it out of your signal chain and just take the Rode lavalier receiver and take it straight into your FS5. And then let's talk more. If you're still having problems getting consistent sound, it's probably not going to be solved by buying a sound device. It's actually sound devices now, and I don't think they still sell the A10. I think you'd have to buy that used. That's just a much more complex setup. I wouldn't do it. I think you can get fine. I I'd take a breath. I would just feed the audio directly from the Rode Lavalier receiver into the FS5 and see where that gets you. And then let's talk some more from there. Okay, Vinny, hope that helps. Let's go to the chat and see what's happening in the chat. I have a pile of stuff in front of me here, so it's a little bit hard to get to the chat. Okay, all right. Question from the logician. I see that you take that bottom clip off each time. Is that necessary to do that? It looks like you could just insert the lav into the concealer. Very tight fit with quite a bit of friction. And that clip kind of holds the rubber channel where you put the lavalier microphone together. So it actually is, there's quite a bit of friction there. That's why I took it off each time. Maybe with some practice you wouldn't have to, but that's why I was taking it off. Brad says, I found it easier to have loops than pull from both ends to tighten up on Saver. Trying to visualize exactly what that means. So to have loops and then pull from both ends to tighten up on Saver. Okay, all right. Rather than thread it through the first hole, then loop it around, then thread it through the second hole. Anyway, yeah, okay. I'm not sure what that means, but I appreciate the input. If you want to clarify a little bit. Sasa says, do you have any opinion on the 32-bit wireless shotgun Comica VM40? I came late to the show, so I apologize if it was already addressed. Yes, I do have an opinion, and unfortunately, I am not interested in reviewing it. Actually, I am interested in reviewing it, but I will have a video here in the next little bit talking about all of these products, including this, with non-user replaceable batteries. I've had it. I'm fed up. I think it's time for the product companies to hear loud and clear. You need to provide a way to replace those batteries. Even if it's a kit that I buy where I have to, with a tool that I can crack open the product and replace the battery and close it back up, or just out and out replaceable batteries, run on AAAs or whatever. Find a solution, but the fact that they are inbuilt and there's really no way, I mean, the worst or the least I'd be willing to accept is a bona fide, like legitimate battery replacement program where there's somewhere in country that I can ship it to and have the battery replaced. That's probably the case with Rode, but they're not really clear about that. So I guess I'm ready to make a statement to the product manufacturers. Comica's VM40 falls into that category. You cannot replace the batteries yourself, at least not in an easy way. If you're a DIYer with some soldering skills, you could probably figure it out. But for the rest of us that don't want to mess with that or don't have those skills, I'm kind of fed up with those products, and I'm not planning to review any more of them. So I'm probably not going to look at the Comica VM40. So sorry for the tough love there. It's not directed at you, Sasa. It's directed at the product manufacturers. So that's how I feel about that thing. All right. Would it be better if the lavs were placed in your collar, like up in here? It's going to sound more throaty that way. We can do that, but I've generally found that it sounds more throaty, which is not necessarily a great sound. But if that's your only option, then yes, you certainly can do that. There's plenty of air there, so that's a good thing. And it's probably not going to get nearly as much clothing rustle unless someone is wearing something like this. And then when they move, we are getting some. But a lot of times that's not going to be the case. So you won't get as much of the clothing rustle, but it will sound throatier, which is not usually a really great sound. All right, Matt says he can, this is back to Vinny's question, he can run the Zoom into the Pearl directly. Or you could run the receiver directly into the Pearl directly. Either one. But the problem then is he's going to have audio sync issues, so that's why I would actually still take it into the camera. So good thinking, like the out of the box. There we go. Carter Brown, hello from Utah. I'm in Utah as well. It's great to have you join us here today. Danny says, I'm about to be rigging COS 11s lavs to half-ton truck visor for production audio in a moving vehicle. I have found that lavaliers work really nicely up there in the COS. I've done that with the COS 11D before as well. It works out pretty nicely. Eric says, totally 100% replaceable batteries are sorely needed. Here's a clarification from Brad. Instead of trying to tightly wrap around the saver, stuck in hole, couple large loops through end hole, then pull cable to loosely. Okay, let's try that. Now I think I understand here. Got to pull it out here. We'll go to the overhead camera. There we go. Back over here. Okay. So what you're saying, I can pull, just to give logician, I think you were the one saying this, there is a lot of friction, which is actually probably a good thing. It's not going to pull, oh, I guess I was able to pull it out. But there's quite a bit of friction there. That's why I was doing it the way I was. Okay, so Brad is saying, let's give this some breathing room here. Pull this out. Let's go ahead and pull it out. Okay, so let's make some large loops. And actually, I'm going to, for now, undo that knot. Okay, so let's just keep them pretty big. And then come in through here. Okay, so they're pretty big loops. Kind of do that. That's another way to do it. Again, the Senkens cable is so... yeah, I think that'll work pretty well. Yeah, good. Thanks, Brad. Good. Red Frame Tech, fully agree with you, Curtis. I'm going to start talking about that more on my channel, too. Yes, thank you. And the product companies will eventually listen if enough of us say things, so let's say it. Mike has a dead Rode NTG in one of my fire kits that's useless. Yeah, so the NTG 4 Plus, I think it was, had an inbuilt battery. And that's what a pain. And that has a 10-year warranty, I think, so you should be able to get that serviced by Rode. But definitely worth considering. Thomas asks, the Sennheiser ME4 is a directional cardioid lav. Are there any special tricks, tools, or considerations for non-Omni mics? Yeah. Yeah, I would say that the how you aim them is everything. So they're cardioid. The only other, I've used a Shure cardioid, a big Shure cardioid lavalier way back in the day. I don't have it anymore. And then I also use the Shure, what was it, the Uniplex? I think it's the Uniplex, is also cardioid. And yeah, you just have to get it aimed right. So aim it up to where you want it to pick up. Experiment. I would do just some testing on yourself and move it around and see what happens as you move it in different directions. But I don't know of any special tricks beyond that. It's pretty much the same as everything else. Every other lavalier microphone, except for the way you have it aimed, is also important. So hopefully, unless anyone else has other tips for Thomas, that would be great to share those in the chat. Sasa, thanks. Curtis, I share your opinion on non-replaceable batteries. Actually, I wrote to Comica and suggested a replaceable battery for a future release. Something tells me they won't listen. They may not. And that's the thing, is that starting with Apple, well, was Apple the first to do it with their iPhones? I guess it's a little different with Apple. I can actually take it into an Apple store. There are a lot of them here, and they're spread throughout the world. I guess you can do that, and they would replace it. But I think the ideal for me is that it's something that it should be something that almost anyone can replace. The problem is a lot of them are just going to end up in the landfill because people are just like, well, I can't fix it. I don't know anyone in my direct sphere of influence and knowledge that knows how to fix it, so I guess I'll just throw it away. In Europe, they have very strict laws about, you can't just throw something with a battery in the trash. So that's good. I think people in Europe are pretty well, they have recycling centers you can take things to. That's a little better, I suppose. But to me, it's pretty concerning. So we'll say something about it there at some point. And then Thomas, thank you for the question. All right, friends, it's time to go. I'm 5 minutes past the hour. Danny, I got to get dinner cooking over here because we're having stew tonight. I got to get it started. Thanks, everybody, for coming by. It's great to have you here today. Get out there, make some great sound, and we will talk to you again next week. Take care.